Hi and welcome. It's Peg, and today I want to talk to you about some basics for surfaces for alcohol ink. But before I get into that, I want to direct you to the description box below because this is all about a hop. And my friends and I were talking about what was our passion and where was that leading us. And so I've got a bunch of people together who are going to share some of their passion for art with you. And if you want to see what they're passionate about, follow the links in the description box below. Okay, so much for my commercial. Let's get back to where we were starting. I want to use some basic surfaces today. I'm going to work on some Hammermill premium photo paper because, for cards and that sort of thing, this is just fine for working on. It's a high gloss paper, and you can work on either side, on the gloss side, on the matte side. I'm going to choose to work on the matte side today, so that's one surface. The next one I have here is Yupo. This is a plasticized paper. It's synthetic and a good surface because it's non-porous. And when you're working with alcohol ink, that's what you're looking for, is a non-porous surface, because you want it to float on the surface and be able to manipulate it. Where, the back side of this paper, you're not going to be able to do so much of that because it's going to soak right in. But Yupo is a good choice. However, it is pricey. So an inexpensive alternative to the Yupo is the Graphics. This is an opaque white craft plastic, and you can get it in Duralar, which is a clear. I happen to like the white opaque because it closely, simulates paper. So let's get that down here. Let me write that on. What do I have to write with? Graphics. This one is Yupo. And this one is Photo. All right, so we have our 3 piles of paper that we're working with here. Now, there are any number of inks out on the market, and I have another video about the inks. I'll try to remember to put a link into that. Well, actually, I think that's coming out later this month, so watch for that. So, yeah, the 3 different types of paper. Now, the Graphics is going to react differently from the Yupo and the photo paper. Let me just get these out of the way. And I should show you both sides of the photo paper, I think, but we'll start here. So I'm going to work with a number of different inks here. This is the alcohol ink in Purple Twilight from Ranger, and I'm just going to put a drop of the Purple Twilight on each of these just so that you can see how they bloom and move. You can see that it's moving quite a bit more on the Graphics. The Yupo has an irregular shape, and this one is just kind of soaking in and blooming out. So that's the difference. You can see how this one is really spread on the Graphics. This one on the Yupo, not as much. And this one on the photo paper, it's really sunk right in. And then let's try another type of ink. This is the Marabou alcohol ink in Caribbean. I'm just going to put a drop of that right down into the Ranger ink. Put a drop on here, so that you can see what happens with the layers and how it reacts on the different surfaces. You can see that this one, it really blends more, doesn't push it out as much. This is pushing it out, pushing the purple out on the edge, but you can also see that it puddles out there on the edge, where this one gives you a more defined circular puddle. Now, if I want to add solution to these, I have some options. I have regular Adirondack blending solution, I have the Pinata color extender, and I have alcohol. And alcohol does not work the same way as the blending solution and the extender. Alcohol, let me put another drop down here. Let me just get a different color now. I'm going to add a drop of this purple from Marabou on the graphics, on the UPO, and on the photo paper. That was a little more than one, but that's okay. You can see it's sitting there on the UPO. If I want that to move and blend out, I can add a blending solution. So let's just see what it does on the UPO if I add a drop of the blending solution. You can see that that blending solution is starting to push it a little bit, but still not a great deal. I'm going to add another drop. Actually, I'm going to add 3 drops, and you can see now it's starting to break it up, and you're getting the bloom going on. If I add this to my photo paper, it is not going to bloom and move as much because it's already soaked into that photo paper. And now it's moved outside of the ring here. On the graphics, if I add the blending solution, you can see how it wicks out on the graphics. So you get an entirely different effect depending on the surface that you're working with. I really like this aura, this bloom that happens on the graphics. You don't get that on either one of these other papers. Let me add a little bit to this up here. Well, that was okay. That was the blending solution. Let me add a little bit of the Pinata color extender so I can show you what that does. Now you can see this color looks really washed out over here. With the Pinata, I'm going to drop a drop of that on to each of these. Add one more to that one. There again, the UPO, it's moving, but it's unpredictable. It's just going wherever it wants to. This has this lovely bloom here. This is a little more controlled. And that's just sitting there, okay? Now, if what I want to do is remove some ink, let's try the alcohol now. Let's just put alcohol through here and see what that does. Put alcohol through here, see what that does. You see how it's moving and pushing and removing the ink. Same thing here. So you can see the differences in the surface, in the products that you're using, and how they work. Now, just to be fair on the photo paper, let me get another one with the gloss side. And I'm going to come back and drop some of the purple that we had originally. Some of that, what did we have? We had a blue from Marabou that we dropped in there. And we had red, I think, of some sort, or pink. I can't remember which one. I'll drop that in. And you can see that on the gloss side, this has a totally different look from the matte side. And if I use the extender on this, let's drop a little bit of that in, a little bit of that in there. You can see that it's blooming. It's extending out. It's still moving, right? And if I add the alcohol now, what it does. So those are basics of the paper. I can tell you right away that my favorite right now, my current favorite, is the graphics. Just because you get these lovely effects. Okay. Nothing wrong with the Yupo, but number one, it's expensive, and I don't seem to have the control with it that I do with the graphics. This I like if I'm using a stencil, because it soaks in a little bit more. So if you want to use photo paper, oops, if you want to use photo paper with stencils, it's a great lot of fun, because let me just grab one of these out here. I can put this down on here, and then I can add some ink to my stencil. And it's going to run underneath. I'm aware of that. I'm fine with that. I know it's going to do that. And that's one of the beauties of it. And that's what it's doing, is it's running underneath and it's soaking in. You might want to just move some of that with a tool through the stencil. Let's take a peek. Can you see what's happening here? Can you see that? As it dries, it's going to leave some of that design in there. And that's what's fun about the photo paper on the back side. It will soak right through, but if you're making ATCs or something, it's a really fun way of using photo paper. So that's it, guys. Go out and check out my friends that have a passion for what they do, and I'll see you again soon with some more information about alcohol ink. Bye for now.